Whether it's around the country or your town or county, decisions are being made every day that impact real people and real communities. Welcome to the Rural View, where we open the window for you to view Wisconsin farmers and rural residents and get a glimpse into the challenges they face.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good day, whatever morning, whatever it is today. We're glad you're all here and welcome to the Rural View. I'm Jim Wren, along with,
Amy Eckelberg.
thank you, Amy. And of course, today we have Emily Klingbeil with Great Lakes Labor, and we're glad to see you here today. And we have a couple of questions for you. First of all, just tell us about yourself and what you do, and maybe some of the things that corresponds or relates with Farm Bureau.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you, Amy, for organizing us and getting us all together this afternoon. So my name is Emily, and I am an account manager and also the manager of marketing and client relations for Great Lakes Ag Labor Services. I love Wisconsin. Actually, I've spent part of my career in Wisconsin as the ag teacher in Cambridge. And so it's fun to get to keep continuing to be connected to Wisconsin agriculture and get to hang out with you guys. So that's pretty fun. I grew up on a dairy farm as well here in Michigan. And I've worked for Great Lakes Ag Labor for the last 3 years, working with them, and so it's just been really fun to get into the H-2A labor world and stay connected to agriculture. So that's been a really great thing for me.
That's awesome. I might have known that you worked in Wisconsin for a while, but I forgot about that. So that is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That'll give you some Wisconsin street cred too, so that's always good.
There you go.
Well, why don't you talk a little bit about just what is Great Lakes Labor? Give us a rundown, maybe some history. Just give us a layout of like what the purpose is of the business.
Sure. All right. So Great Lakes Ag Labor, our focus is H-2A. And so we are a full service H-2A filing agency. We're an affiliate company of Michigan Farm Bureau, and we were started by farmers. Back about 2013, 2014, Michigan specialty crop farmers recognized urgent need for labor. The migrant crews and the migrant families that usually had been coming to harvest crops weren't coming with the same reliability or consistency anymore, and we needed to do something about it. And so there was a group of people that at that time learned how to do H-2A. H-2A has been around a lot longer than that, but really hadn't been utilized much up to that point. So there was a group of Farm Bureau folks that came together, learned how to do the program, and then really birthed then Great Lakes Ag Labor Services. That's how we got started. This is our 11th season serving farmers now. And we went from, just working in Michigan to now this year working with farmers in 5 states, Wisconsin, Texas, Indiana, and Ohio, along with our Michigan farmers as well. And so the business is set up as a full service business, helping farmers from the very, very beginning of entering into the H-2A program through their entire season and every step along the way. It's a complicated process, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a little bit, but lots of paperwork, lots of filings involved. And so we really try to come alongside of farmers and take a lot of that off of their shoulders and support them and help it be as easy and seamless as possible to incorporate H-2A into their labor force.
Along those lines, what do you think is the biggest challenge with that? Is it the paperwork, or is it getting the people, or getting people involved? Or
I would say the biggest challenge is the application process. Also, you got to remember H-2A is a very highly regulated program. And so it's really important that farmers walk into it with their eyes open as far as all of the requirements that they have to participate in the program, and that they are ready to be compliant with those requirements. And we do a lot of compliance education, and we have a great partner we partner with Varnum Law out of Grand Rapids that also comes alongside of us to help our farmers be compliant so that they can be successful and in their efforts. And so we try to do a lot of that. We try to take a lot of that off of their plates, but there is still a high level of responsibility that the employers have to have. Also, I would say the biggest hurdle that folks have to face coming into H-2A is housing. One of the employer requirements is that they provide housing. And so that's usually the first thing, if you're thinking about H-2A, that's the first thing I always ask. Okay, do you have housing? If not, can you get it? And so sometimes people, even when they're thinking about participating in the program, it'll be a year or more from the time they can start considering it and learning about it till the time they're actually ready to jump in and file for workers.
I was just gonna have before we get too far into it, I know H-2A is I mean, you hear that phrase and you probably have some kind of, prior beliefs in your head, but can you I know it's very complicated and we don't have 6 hours here today, but can you
Yep.
just give, like, a crash course of the H-2A program before we get too much into, like, the challenges and stuff? Because I don't wanna make sure that we leave anyone behind of, like, what the program is, how it's structured, how it works. I know you already touched on
Sure.
how it's regulated, but maybe you could just do a crash course for us on that?
Yes, great point. So H-2A is a temporary non-immigrant visa for agriculture work. It's agriculture only. The longest that folks can be on a H-2A contract is 10 months. And the big thing to remember about H-2A workers is the jobs they do can only be seasonal in nature. So they have to be temporary seasonal job tasks that are agriculture related to qualify for the program. And so that's kind of the big overarching temporary seasonal workers, guest worker program. And then as far as the employer requirements, I mean, the big ones, housing, there's some other transportation, providing a place and ways for the workers to get to and from. I'm certain there's some wage requirements that we can talk about in more detail later too. But that's the big kind of overarching general definition of the H-2A program.
I guess I would do a quick follow-up on that of so what do you think are the biggest misconceptions when it comes to the H-2A program?
A lot of people don't understand. I mean, a lot of people are confused and don't have a lot, misconceptions about the labor force in general. The big thing with H-2A is these folks are legal workers, legal guest workers. And so they have gone through that process of they have a visa appointment at the consulate. They have visas that they're here on and they, all of the documentation, et cetera. So sometimes that can be a misconception. The other misconception I think too is that people don't really understand the roles and the tasks that H-2A workers can do because it is somewhat limited in that temporary seasonal capacity, which puts a strain on, folks that as far as need year-round labor, it's not super conducive to those types of things. So it's not a perfect program by any means, but it's what we have and we're working to, make it have as much benefit as we can for the farmers that are using it, if that makes sense.
So along the obviously it's staff related, but what others, what are some of the services that you do for the farmers, through the program or through the workers?
Sure. So the services that we offer in Wisconsin, it really is the full gamut. And so the application piece of it is the big piece. And then also we have the ability to be, coordinate your workers as well. And so we partner with a company in Mexico that does a lot of recruiting. We also bring workers from different countries, South Africa. We brought workers from Guatemala, Honduras, like all kinds of places. And so we can organize all of the logistics of finding the workers, getting their visa appointments, and then also help with travel logistics to get them to your farm. So really, we can help with the whole process from the beginning of the application all the way to them arriving to your farm. Some virtual onboarding. We provide worker packets and all of your onboarding paperwork that you would do. We can provide that, help you with that, and even set up virtual orientation onboarding sessions to go through that with your workers on that when they arrive and are ready to start work as well. And then the other thing too that I love about us is that we try to take care of the farmers. And so we are there with you for the whole season. So even if after your workers are here, if something were to come up or you have a question or there was an issue with a worker, your assigned account manager, is only a phone call away and can help, really any worker issue that comes up throughout the season with your H-2A workers. And so that really is a really something that I'm really proud of and that really help you guys get all the way to the end of the season and get the workers home safely as well.
So is that account manager in each one of those states then? Or is it a
Well,
phone
depends
call?
on what state you are. We do have somebody on the ground in Texas. Most of our account managers are based in Michigan. Depending on the location and timing, I know I have a couple Wisconsin clients, and I have been able to coordinate my travels, and I've met with them on site a couple times. But a lot of it for our outside of Michigan folks, most of the work would be virtual. But depending on time of year, et cetera, we try to have touch points, when possible too. So
So, why don't you just I think part of just using a benefit or a service, sometimes it's just a hurdle, like, I don't even know what to do to start. So maybe we can take what you just shared about all of the things you offer and say, hey, we're a dairy farmer or we're a produce farmer. Like, what does that
Mhm.
process look like? Like, if we have a farmer who's listening and they're like, hey, I should look into this, what are the steps? Like, what does that process from front to end look like? Can you walk us
Mhm.
through maybe a couple examples and also maybe two different types of farms?
Sure. I would say the first step would be to call me, call one of our staff, and to really talk it through. That's the first thing. I love talking with farms and hearing their stories and like what their needs are to really evaluate if H2A is a good fit for their type of farm and the work that they're needing to do. So, for example, on a dairy farm, there are certain tasks that don't fit under H-2A. Milking cows, for example, unfortunately, is not considered to be a seasonal temporary job because we all know cows need milked all year round. And so if a farmer is looking for milkers, then the H-2A program really isn't the route to go. But there are also all kinds of jobs on a dairy farm that are seasonal in nature. All of the crop farming, manure hauling, there's even some of the calf care and management is seasonal depending on how their management program is set up. And so the first step would just be determining and making sure that the tasks and job duties that you're wanting on your farm fit within the H-2A program. And I'm happy to have that conversation with anybody to figure that out. So I think that's the first step. And then going through the housing, do you have housing that, figuring that out and getting a timeline for that. As far as coming on with our company specifically, the very first thing that we do as we bring new clients on board is we have it's called a management review. Basically, we sit down with them, with the farmer, with us, and then with our Varnum Law partners, and have a review of both the H-2A requirements and then also how their farm runs. Because really, that compliance issue is really important for us, and so we want to make sure that again everybody knows what's going on, everybody knows knows the requirements and knows how it works before you step into the H-2A program. So that management review happens, and then from there you are assigned an account manager that they'll work with you through the whole season, and they work with you to come up with what that actual worker contract would look like, what the tasks would be, where you're going to house them, all the details of that, so that all of the applications are ready for filing in the appropriate timeframes. So that's kind of the initial onboarding, and that process looks similar, honestly, from dairy farm to produce farm. The major difference obviously would be the tasks that you're wanting them to do is the difference. The process and the application process is all the same.
I have a quick follow-up to that. Is there a quantity that you have to be considering for workers? I think about, sometimes I think people think H-2A, like, well, I don't need 15 workers, so it's not a good fit for us.
Oh, that's another myth. Thanks, Amy, for bringing that up. So, um, a myth in the H-2A program is, oh, I have to be this big employer and I have to bring in 100 workers. And that is absolutely not the case. I have a client with almost 200 workers and I have a client with one worker. And so, there's no limits. There's no, number that you have to be at to have H-2A workers. And the nice thing about the H-2A program itself, nationwide, is there isn't a cap on it. Other visa programs are limited and only have a certain number of visas that they give out every year, where the H-2A program is uncapped. So there is no limit to how many of those visas they will give, which is nice. No, you don't have to be a big person. And actually, my favorite folks are the small farmers that bring in maybe 2, 3, 4 workers. And because the difference in like how much of an impact those workers can make for those some of our smaller farmers, and just tripling, quadrupling the size of their workforce for the season, and what a big difference that makes for them is really neat to see. So those are some of my favorite stories of hearing the testimonies of, oh, like, I can't believe it, how much my season felt different, how less stress I felt, talking about mental health, how, I knew my workers were going to be there. I didn't have to worry every morning, if they were going to show up or if my seniors were going to shout on me, like we were talking earlier about, high school seniors and all that. But it's really cool to see that type of impact for some of those small farmers too.
And I would say too, I've heard a lot about the relationships that you build in that aspect too. I think that's something too that a lot of times, these farmers, they're with them, they're working alongside of them a lot of times. And I think
Mhm.
you build a relationship with the labor force that comes in. And I think that's also something that's worth mentioning. Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. I would say the majority of our workers coming to farms are returning workers. And there's so much benefit, right? For everybody involved. If you can find some folks that really, do a great job and enjoy coming here, that you can get groups of returning workers. I mean, we have some farms that have been bringing the same workers for 15 years. You know what I mean? The same workers, they come back every year. I've got some farms that the workers will, keep their bin of stuff, keep a bunch of stuff here in, at the farm because they know they're coming back again the next year. So there is some really neat relationships that can happen. And just the fact that, hey, let's, get some great folks in here that do a really great job and not have to train a whole new workforce every year as well. Which is a blessing. We all know what that can be. And so, yeah, it is the goal is to find a workforce that really works and is a good fit for your place and keep bringing those folks back year after year.
Let's talk about the language barrier. How does that work? And I mean, obviously some people may know some Spanish, but you're talking a mix of different countries. How does that work?
It's a great question. And I would say, depending on the farm, depending on what you need them to do, really determines what country kind of maybe you're looking for workers to come from. Most of our workers do come from Mexico, although we do have a lot of folks from South Africa specifically, especially on our dairy farms, as equipment operator contracts. And so in that instance, then obviously the language barrier is minimal. And a lot of our smaller farms or folks that are just bringing folks from Mexico, oftentimes they will have somebody on the farm that speaks Spanish. And if they don't, they've figured it out, especially whether it's Google Translate. It's not a perfect system, but after the first year, they know that when they're familiar with the job and know what to do kind of thing. And then year two becomes a little easier as well. So I'm not naive in saying that there isn't struggles in that, but at the same time, they're definitely are able to overcome them using their resources that they have.
Yeah, Google Translate has helped out immensely in a lot of issues.
It's not
First
perfect. Yeah.
responders, it's not
Mm,
perfect, but
mhm.
we've used
Yes.
it quite a bit in first responding as well.
Yeah.
I have one quick follow-up on the service side. Do you guys also, as part of like the service package to farmers, monitor the H-2A program for changes and updates and things like that?
Yes, all the time. There's a weekly national ag employers network weekly call that happens that is, the absolute most recent goings on as far as, things on the government in the government level, federal government, any lawsuits or litigation happening across the country that we are tuned into. And then also, I mean, Farm Bureau, both on the state level and also on the national level, are huge advocates, obviously, of H-2A and huge, working really hard on our behalf and, being very vocal about the H-2A program and the needs advocacy as far as the needs, things that need to change, keeping things going, watching out for the farmers and trying to do what's best for farmers as well. So yes, we are in all of those conversations on a daily, weekly basis as well, and do our best and to get that information out as quickly as possible to our farmers. Also, our partnership with Varnum Law is a huge asset on that as well, and so we have pretty quick access to them as far as checking into things that are happening in lawsuits and litigations and things like that. And Farm Bureau network is huge, and that's the cool thing about Great Lakes Ag Labor that's different maybe from other companies that do this whole H-2A thing, is that because we are connected with Farm Bureau, we are a part of Farm Bureau, that opens up so many opportunities for resources. And so farmer has a question that's not necessarily labor related, but it's ag related, we have a connection to somebody, place we can send them, or a resource to check in with to get their questions answered or point them in the right direction, which is also a nice member benefit, a part of the member benefit as well.
Do you ever see that seasonal timeline changing? Because obviously in Wisconsin, one of our biggest barriers is the fact of not having enough people to milk cows, and that's probably a big barrier with
Yes.
this program. Do you ever see that continuing on so that milking would be part of that?
I do. I don't know the timeline. I believe it's been talked about for years as far as taking that seasonality verbiage out of the H-2A program. I know that there's some things in conversation at the federal level wanting to take that seasonality out and make some adjustments to be able to open it up more to our dairy friends. As far as a timeline on that, I don't know, but it definitely is on the top of the list and very widely known that that's a big issue with H-2A as far as limiting how it can be used in the dairy industry. And there's a lot of folks that are talking about trying to get that fixed or get that adjusted.
It's on the radar.
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely on the radar.
Yeah, I feel like we've been talking about that for a long time. That's been on Wisconsin Farm Bureau's advocate list for a long time to try to figure out how we can help our dairy farmers more specifically since, their season's all year round. So glad to know it's on the radar, and I think, hopefully we are seeing a lot of labor conversations right now, and, I think maybe we'll see something moving at some point, hopefully.
Yeah, I definitely think it's moved up a bunch of spots on the list, if that makes sense. So as far as
Priority
priority
list.
one, yes,
Yeah.
it's moving up, and I'm hopeful to see something and see some answers soon based on some of the things that they're talking about on the federal level.
So if we could do maybe like the top 3 to 5 things that you want people to know about Great Lakes labor, or maybe just like using and leveraging the H-2A program in general, what would those things be?
That's a great question. I would say the first thing, specifically about Great Lakes labor, is our connection with Farm Bureau, and it's just really cool. I think that because of that relationship with Farm Bureau, we can, as we interact with farmers and work to, talk about and educate about H-2A, come at it from the side or the standpoint of we want farmers to be successful, right? So let's have a conversation about if H-2A is the answer, awesome. If it's not, I'm going to tell you. If it's not, like if it's not going to be a great fit. And because really the biggest thing that's most important for us is that we are serving our farmers, and we want that these farms to continue into the next generation and be profitable and be successful. And so really it's nice to be a part of an organization where that's the goal and we can operate under that premise as far as as opposed to other things. And so that's really first and foremost, I think, for us and our organization and connection with the bigger piece of Farm Bureau. And then just really, I mean, we do a great job of taking care of our farmers and building relationships with account managers. Like I said, whether they're driving to your farm or a phone call away, really do their best to support all season long, which is nice and something my favorite part of the job. Paperwork's fine, but the people are the best part, and so that's been a blessing to build relationships with farmers as well. And then as far as H-2A, I mean, again, it's not a perfect system, but if it can be a help for folks to alleviate some of the stress and worry of the workforce. I mean, for labor is huge. It's a huge issue, and it's super stressful. Are my workers going to show up today? Do I have the right people in the right spots on the right day to harvest or to plant or to to feed or to chop or whatever? And so if knowing that H-2A can alleviate some of that by providing a reliable, stable legal workforce, then that potentially can be an answer and a solution for some folks. And so that's something to think about, and the big picture of what makes H-2A a viable option for our farms. So those things I think are important to know and think about moving forward as you're thinking about bringing on H-2A workers.
We talked a lot about the benefits of leveraging H-2A, but I guess should we mention, like, is there any risks in using H-2A? Is that something that you guys help try to mitigate?
Sure. Yes. Because it's highly regulated, it also then is open for the checks and balances of Department of Labor. And so, Department of Labor can show up to do an audit like they could any place, but especially for your H-2A program. And so we, as part of our services, we really tried to make sure that you, in the event that would happen, that you have everything that you need. Like I said, how to do it the right way, and we've set you up for success in that way, but then also supporting you, as far as depending what folks are looking for, or, keeping track of documentation and make sure that you have, all of your paperwork in order and organized in the event that somebody would want to see it. We work really hard to help you with that as well. So because it is highly regulated, you do need to be in compliance. The other thing that is worth noting is that the wage. So for H-2A, the Department of Labor determines the minimum wage that you have to pay your workers. And so that can be a stressful thing, but it's a known entity. And so this year they've changed the way that they do that. And so each state has a different minimum wage for their workers depending on their skill level, etc. And so that's something to be aware of as you enter the program as well. So it's not just you can pay them whatever you want. There is a specific minimum that is set and that it is updated annually by Department of Labor.
So, what could Farm Bureau or farmers or anybody do to use the resources or know more about the resources?
There's lots of different options. We are, for Wisconsin folks, I mean, there's a couple times a year that our staff are in Wisconsin. We've come to the annual meeting the last couple years. We also are at the Growing Wisconsin conference in the Dells that takes place in January. We're going to be in Ohio at Cultivate, which is a national conference too. So there might be some Wisconsin folks headed to Columbus in July. But also we are really willing and open to educate folks. And so if there's a county farm bureau maybe that has a group of farmers that are interested in H-2A and they want to do a webinar like we're doing, or they want to, schedule a meeting with us, we are always happy to do that. And I know there's also a couple times a year when myself or a couple other staff members are coming into Wisconsin. And so we could coordinate, if there's several folks that want to do that, we can coordinate to set up some in-person meetings and conversations as well. So we are trying to be as accessible as we can, accessible as you need us to be, to help get the word out too. And we also have a website. You can check us out. It is greatlakesaglabor.com. And so that gives a lot of information about the H-2A program in general too. And I'm sure there's a way Amy can share out our information to the folks that are listening to the podcast as well.
Yeah, and I was going to say I was on the website just ahead of our interview too, and there is a frequently asked questions tab that is pretty helpful. So it kind of goes into some of those, questions you might have, or who to contact, or just things that are on your brain before you reach out to. You seem pretty jacked about this job, Emily. So I do just have to ask you, like, what motivates you to do this? I think you talked a little bit about the people, but, just why do you enjoy your job? Because you do seem like you enjoy your job. You're probably one of the most peppy people I've ever talked to about H-2A before. I feel like I can give you that award.
Yes. My teammates, I am genuinely, most of the time, as I call myself sometimes unrealistically optimistic about life in general. Is the running joke with both my family and my teammates. No, I would say, I mean, for me, obviously it is the people, and I love the stories of farmers. I love listening to farmers just, tell their farm story, tell, how many generations they've been in business, all the things. And so, especially for me as a dairy farmer, it's been really interesting to learn about all of the different other parts of agriculture. When I started this job, I didn't necessarily know anything about growing lettuce or asparagus or, cherries or any of that kind of thing. And so it's been fun just for me to enter into snippets of the rest of the world of agriculture beyond dairy. And so that part I also really enjoy as well. I mean, I also really enjoy the part that, we can put farmers first. And that is the thing that it drives the business and drives the team and our organization because of that link to Farm Bureau and being able to be a member service. So that makes it a very rewarding place to work for me, for sure.
I also think that you get credibility because you guys were created by farmers. So I feel like you really do have the farmer front of mind. And I also feel like I need to come your way so I can get an asparagus tour, because I really am struggling to grow my own asparagus and I just don't understand what I'm doing wrong. So that's a different conversation for a different day. But I don't know if you know anything, but maybe you can connect me to somebody who does.
I know some people. I don't know very much, but I know some folks that can hop right in. And I think it is the season. So we're entering into asparagus season. So if you want hands-on action, I think now might be the time to visit Michigan for sure.
Yeah, that wasn't on your question list. I just took a hard right and I'm just like, hey, let's just talk about asparagus. Sorry about that, but it's been on my brain.
Right.
I'm headed to Michigan in July, so if there's any there, I'll pick some up for you.
Thanks, Jim. That's very thoughtful of you. You can throw it in the freezer and
yeah. Otherwise, I just run over it with the lawnmower.
Wait a minute. What? You can't.
It's
No, I hear you.
maybe not your specialty.
Well, no, I don't like asparagus. We have it growing wild along the road. Whoever doesn't come get it, then we get it with the lawnmower. The rabbits have to eat too.
I suppose. But yeah, no, I just really appreciate the community really, the agriculture community is, we joke about it, it's so small and so tight and whatever, but that's, in my opinion, the best part of it. And just if we can, be a resource for each other and be helpful for each other, and all be on the same team as far as trying to make it happen and produce really good food and thriving businesses, where families are continuing on generation after generation. I think that's really, really a cool place to be a part of, a cool place to be, and a fun industry to be a part of. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, is there anything else you want to share? Otherwise, I think we're ready to head into our quick fire. We already took a hard right, so we might as well just keep going. Well, do you want to start or do you want me to start, Jim, with our questions for Emily?
Well, obviously, we have quick fire, so it's off the cuff, ready to go. So, one of our favorites is, do you prefer chocolate milk or white milk?
Ooh, depends on what I'm doing with it. I would say probably refreshing drink, white milk. If I'm feeling fancy at a restaurant, I order chocolate.
If you're feeling fancy, I'm
I
gonna
don't know if
totally
that's
do that next
fancy.
time I go out to dinner with my husband. I'm gonna be like, I'm feeling fancy tonight. I'm getting some chocolate milk.
I don't know.
The
That's hilarious.
luxury of chocolate milk.
Yep.
I like it.
Oh,
I
that's
like
so
it.
funny. Make sure your pinky's up when you drink that chocolate milk.
Right.
For sure. All right, next one. What is your favorite? And it has to be Wisconsin. What is your favorite Wisconsin product? No Michigan
No,
items
that's
allowed.
fine. That's fair. That's fair. I would say cheese. I would say, and cheese curds. And here's the thing about Wisconsin that people don't realize if you don't live there. Like, Wisconsin has a whole cheese aisle. I mean, at Woodman's, the cheese goes on for like hundreds of yards of just cheese. And, that
It's
doesn't
not
exist
weird.
other places.
I promise it's not weird. It's like this weird glimpse into heaven. That's what it is. It's not weird at all.
So I miss that. I miss that about about Wisconsin, is definitely that for sure.
I feel like the lights are brighter in that aisle. I'm just saying. It's like it's a good thing.
I understand. Yep, I feel you.
Oh, boy. Well, it is a Wisconsin thing. And it's just like the beer caves. You don't see beer caves all over the place either.
No, no, yeah, yep, beer and cheese, love it.
Yep.
They're
All
a
right,
special
Emily,
time.
we're getting into fair season here. So, what would be your favorite fair food?
That's a good question. At the Wisconsin State Fair, there is a really great elote Mexican corn restaurant, and then I also I can handle, is it the Machine Shed that has the Krispy Kreme donut as the bun of the hamburger? It's like a cheeseburger with a Krispy Kreme donut as the bun. I can't eat that all the time, but it is a nice bite. I will say that.
I can't even believe that you brought that up because that has been one of my like top 5, maybe 10. Like we always go try all the fair food down at Wisconsin State Fair, all the new stuff, right? And
Mhm.
that Krispy Kreme cheeseburger is like still something I think about on occasion. Do I make it? No, because that's a way to die early, but I really enjoyed that fair food. It was like a donut, so it was like sweet, and then you put this like salty meat
Yes,
cheese
yes,
situation.
yes.
My goodness, it's good.
I apparently have to get out of the barn a little bit more often because I've been there all 11 days for a lot of years and have yet to try that.
It's
What?
been I don't know
I
if
know.
has it been there every year? I'll have to look that up, but I don't know if it's there every year or not, but we have to get you one of those. Like you have to try one. It's I feel like a rite
All
of
right. This
passage.
year,
Mhm.
we'll do a live, maybe,
Yeah,
And you
of
me
you
gotta
try.
do
trying it.
Yeah.
They also have the fried butter, which is weird. Have you had that? It's like that
Very
little
weird.
wonton thing with the thing.
It's
Yeah.
not for me. It's weird. Yeah.
That sounds like a quicker way to die.
True. That's true. That makes me feel better about
You
the
could just
Krispy
feel
Kreme
your
burger, Jim.
arteries just
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. That made me feel better. Practically a diet food. I mean, the Krispy Kreme cheeseburger is practically like a diet food.
Yes.
yeah.
Ugh.
It's like eating fruit.
Not
Yes.
quite.
But so many food categories, food groups are in there, so that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
All
When
right.
you're at State Fair, it doesn't count.
No, it doesn't
Absolutely.
actually. There's signs
Absolutely.
when you walk in, I think. Okay, so we're heading into grilling season. So, what is your favorite thing to put on a grill?
Oh, a big old steak every day. Hands down. A big old ribeye steak. I'm good. That's my favorite. And I also like grilled vegetables.
I was worried you were going to say asparagus.
That is good. No, that is good actually. My husband got me a Blackstone for, I forget, last year my birthday or something, and I do fill the whole thing with vegetables and just cook asparagus included. So yes, they are good on the grill. You should try them with like some balsamic, little salt and balsamic vinegar, and then grill them. Delicious. You might like it.
I should
Yeah.
clarify, Jim, that my asparagus that you're going to get me when you go to Michigan is also going on the side of steak. It's not the main staple, okay? It's on the side of my steak.
I'm happy with that you're just eating steak, so I'll let the asparagus slide.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. I still can't. And you know what? I will honestly try that on the Blackstone. I'll take some vegetables, cook it up. I am not one for cooked vegetables. I love corn cooked, but I would rather have it out of the garden raw any day.
Well, that's
Obviously
because
not asparagus.
I don't know, farm grandmas are notorious for like cooking the snot out of vegetables and making them mushy, and that's disgusting. So don't cook them till they're mushy. Just cook them till they're
Sorry,
like
Mom.
heated and slightly crispy. I mean, I love my mom and my grandma too, but of course asparagus is gross when it's mushy. Duh. So that's your problem. You just gotta
All
don't
right.
cook the snot
All
out
right.
of it. Keep it crispy.
All right. All right. I'll take my oath.
I expect a report back, Jim. I expect to
right.
hear
You
back
definitely
how
need
delicious those grilled vegetables.
I'm going to get a random
Maybe-
video of Jim just eating asparagus one night, and I'm going to be like, what? I forgot about that.
At State Fair.
Yes, that's pretty fair. All right, Jim, we got one question left. Do you want to ask it?
I have to look up my. Oh, well, here we are talking about vegetables. So,
Yeah, it'll be perfect.
do you have a garden at home, or do you go to the farmers markets to get vegetables, asparagus, namely?
I don't have asparagus growing in my house yet. So I do have a garden. It's a community effort between my mom and I. And again, because I'm optimistically unrealistic, I usually plant all these things, and then like either keeping them alive all the way through the season or even like harvesting them at the end is questionable, but we have lots of fun putting it in. Especially when I
Yep.
was a teacher, I would notoriously water it all summer, but then right when you go back to school, that's when all the harvest, and so then it would just sit there and I wouldn't use it. But I'm better about that now. But yeah, we usually try to have a garden, and I'm crossing my fingers for some success this year. So yes.
We usually about that time put up that little sign that says weed garden.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Then in that case, it's super successful then. Like
Yeah.
it's super
I
successful.
also only take pictures of my garden from this time of year until about June 30th. And then after that, I don't show anyone my garden because it's very sad.
And my husband
So-
only eats like 3 vegetables, so he doesn't care. So it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Jim?
Well, so we used to have a big garden, and now we've downsized it and built my wife a raised bed this year so that we can keep it contained. And so we're going to try that route this year. And then the pumpkins can go out and enjoy a whole big area. So, but we
So,
have
Jim,
green
what's your-
beans
What's your best crop? What's your favorite thing to grow, Jim?
in my garden.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of strawberries. So I love the strawberries because those go really good on ice cream. But I do like pumpkins, and I love sweet corn.
It's all good stuff.
That's good. All right. Well, that was our quick fire. You survived. It wasn't too
Phew.
terrible and actually quite funny. Because now when I see asparagus, I think of Jim. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
all
now
right,
I'm going to be on the lookout in Michigan for asparagus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get some
well-
peaches while you're there too. If I don't know
Oh,
I don't know if
yeah,
they'll be ready in July
blueberries?
yet. Probably they won't be. Oh yeah, blueberries. Oh yeah, blueberries. Yes, get some blueberries.
Mm-hmm.
Get all the things.
So I was actually born in Michigan, so I am very aware of the peaches.
Where were you born? Where are you from?
Just outside of Detroit, and my
Very cool.
daughter goes to Michigan State now.
Well, that's awesome. Well, perfect. I'm about 40 minutes north of there, so pretty close. I'm a Michigan State grad as well, so been a Spartan my whole life. So it's a good place to be.
Yeah, she's finishing up her master's, so she's doing her dissertation right now, and hopefully she'll be done here by the end of summer. That's the hope.
Nice. Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Well, I think we can wrap. Thank you again, Emily, for joining us today. We'll make sure that we include all the information about Great Lakes Egg Labor out to our members so that they can follow up and get more information if they'd like to. But
I
otherwise,
think
yeah,
you should do another shameless plug for the email or the
for the
website.
website.
Oh, have you been on our website? No, so
I
Great
have.
Lakes Ag Labor, greatlakesaglabor.com. And there's also a place on there it says like contact us. And so you could fill out, there's an online form that you could quick fill out that comes right to me and I will call you and answer all your questions. And so that's a great way to connect with me. And I can get you my my individual email as well. But greatlakesaglabor.com is the website. And there's lots of information, especially if you haven't done H-2A before. There's lots of education about the program itself. And then again, like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions and talk folks through the whole process and if it makes sense or if it's a good fit for what your farm needs.
So this is where we go. Here's the website right here.
Yeah, something like that, Jim. You just
Yeah.
point and it'll pop up and it'll look cool. You know, we're
Magic.
probably gonna forget to do that, and then it's just gonna be us just pointing randomly, right? So that's cool.
Oh
All
my gosh, you
right.
are great. Well, thanks for letting me hang out with y'all. You are great. This is a
Oh
good time.
yeah.
Sounds like we'll see you at the annual meeting in December.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I'm around. So hop in, and like I said, I always love to come back to Wisconsin because it's an excuse, right, to connect with my peoples there too and my friends. And so I'm like, and if I can throw in some business meeting and some work on the way in to and from, then that makes it even more successful.
And to
you
go
get
down
to
that
go.
cheese aisle.
You're right.
And to
Go
get
down
cheese,
the
yeah,
cheese
to
aisle.
fill up on cheese and beer. You know, bring it back from Wisconsin, and then people put in their orders when we're going. That's for sure.
Thanks, Emily.
Yes,
Yep,
thanks,
thank
you guys.
you.
Take care. Have a great day.
Interested in more news from Wisconsin Farm Bureau? Subscribe to Ag Newswire. Delivered weekly to your email inbox, Ag Newswire is your connection to the latest news from Wisconsin Farm Bureau and the agriculture industry. Subscribe now at the link in our show notes.